Hey guys, welcome back. The recipe that I'm going to show you now is that of a cake which is made this time of the year. But you do not need to wait for Christmas to enjoy this cake. You can actually bake it any time of the year. This one is vegan, it's egg free. I use wheat flour and natural sweetness of jaggery and dates along with dried fruits to give it a nice flavor. Enough reason not to make it. So let's get started. Now, normally a Christmas cake has got a lot of ingredients. You got dried fruit which are actually soaked into alcohol and stuff, but this recipe has got no alcohol at all in it. I'm just going to first start by actually making a sugar syrup, but instead of a normal sugar, I'm actually going to use brown sugar or jaggery. So I've got these chunks of jaggery. I'm going to soak it into water and leave it aside, or rather warm it up in the microwave just to break it down and form a syrup made out of jaggery. I don't need to cook it, I just want to melt the sugar down. So while I get this to soften up, I'll get the flour organized. Now, classically for a Christmas cake, they use plain flour or refined flour, but I am going to go healthy, so I'm going to use whole wheat flour. I really love the flavors of whole wheat, and it's the richness and the brownness which comes from this flour is actually quite nice. It's a lot more healthier. So this is literally my take onto a Christmas cake, which we as a family enjoyed around the year. So there's no reason why you guys also can't do it. In this goes baking soda and baking powder and a tiny pinch of salt. At this stage, all I do is I mix this together. So this is ready. Now time to mix the cake. This is a very simple way to make the cake. I'm actually going to make the batter for the cake. Now, when you go to mix things onto the table, always leave a cloth under your bowl because that prevents the bowl from moving. So when you're whisking your mix or your batter, your bowl does not move. So always keep a cloth below. So we've got a bowl here. My sugar or the jaggery has melted off into a nice kind of a brown color, its natural color, and gives a very nice kind of a rich sweetness to the dish. A few of the particles are still there, but that's fine. They melt on cooking or rather on baking. So the liquid goes in first, then goes in the flour mix. So we've got flour, which is wheat flour, it's got baking powder, and it's got baking soda. I'm going to add a little bit first, mix it up, and then the rest. Then with a whisk, just mix it up till it's nice and smooth. Then you can see the color. The rich brown color is actually from not just the flour being wheat flour, the brown flour, but also the sugar or the jaggery which melts off and releases its normal brown color. This is quite thick at the moment. So I'm going to lightly thin it down. Now again, this is a vegan cake, so there's no butter, there's no dairy as such. So I'm going to use oil, vegetable oil. A neutral oil is the best oil. Don't use any flavored oil as such. I'm going to whisk that again. Now classically, when you make an egg, which is an egg-free kind of an egg, you add yogurt or you add some kind of a dairy into it. So instead of milk, I'm actually going to use almond milk. So when you add the almond milk, don't add all of it together, but add it into batches. So first, put half of it, mix it together. Now what I'm trying to create here is a very nice, smooth, kind of a silky batter for the cake. You see that? Look at the gloss. Got such a nice shine to the cake. See that? It begins to drop. At this stage, then goes in the rest of the almond milk. You can use rice milk, you can use soya milk, and if you want to use dairy, you can also use plain milk. It's perfectly okay. But this one is vegan, is egg free, it's got natural sugars, and the batter is now ready. Look at that. So once the batter is done, I remove the excess. Then goes in my dry fruits. I've got chopped dates and also got chopped apricots, a generous amount. I don't like it overly sweet, so the sugar quantity is always less in my cakes, but the date and the apricots give it a nice sweetness of its own along with the jaggery. Then goes in the dry fruits. So I've got coarsely chopped walnuts, I've got pecan nuts, I've got cashew, and I've got almonds. So I'm going to put all of that into the mix, and all I do now is just fold the dry fruits into the mixture or into the batter. Now you can see the dry fruits have all got mixed together with the cake batter. This aside. Now to bake the cake, I'm using a ring kind of a mold. I'm going to lightly grease it. So it goes in a little neutral oil. I'm going to just grease the tin on the sides and at the bottom. This helps the cake or prevents the cake from sticking, and it's also easy to demold it. So also on the sides. So this is going to be inverted finally before you serve it. So I'm going to add some pecan nuts on the bottom. Add one more. There you have it. And lastly, the batter into the cake. At this stage, you lightly tap it down to remove any air bubbles and also to leaven or level the cake. This is done. This will now go into a preheated oven at around 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees centigrade for approximately 35 minutes till the cake is cooked thoroughly. The cake is now ready. It actually took around 30 minutes to be precise to get this done. I have pierced a needle in to see if it comes out clean, which it does. So that tells me that the cake is ready. Now this cake has rested for approximately 4 or 5 minutes just to settle down. It also helps the cake to loosen up from the sides. Now there's still some parts which are probably going to be sticking to the edges. Although we had greased it, there are always some tiny particles of the flour or the batter which stick on the edges. So the best way is to use the tip of your knife or the sharp edges of a knife and just to go around the inner part and the outer circle of the cake, just to lightly loosen the cake up. The same thing you do it here. Just lightly loosen the cake. You see, just slightly, you can see it move. It tells me that the cake has loosened from the tin. Okay, this is done. At this stage, I'm now going to invert it onto a plate. Now to invert the cake, all you do is you take the cake tin in your hand. Use a towel because it's still going to be slightly warm. Onto the plate, and with the knife, just tap it. Fingers crossed, it comes out fine. Let's see. And voila, look at that. You see that? The pecan nuts which we have placed first on the baking tin are still on top here. The cake has got even brown color, looks very inviting. Now normally when you have say a Christmas cake, you put an icing on top and you put some grated lemon or orange zest or something in it to give it a nice citrusy flavor. Now I don't like that heaviness. I like it very simple and clean, and that's why I say this cake is one of our favorites in the house because you can have it any time of the year and not just on a special occasion. To finish it off, I like to give it a nice flavoring of spices. So I have icing sugar here, and in icing sugar I have mixed nutmeg powder and cinnamon powder. So this nutmeg powder, cinnamon powder and icing sugar into a strainer, and all I do is just sprinkle it on top of my jaggery cake. Good dusting of spiced sugar. There you have it. The cake is still nice and warm. Time to have a little slice. You see that? It's still nice and dense, but same time lots of flavor into it. You see all the dry fruits on that. It just smells quite nice. So there you have it. My vegan jaggery and dry fruit cake.